harsh. Because of the harsh environment. I think psychologists and sociologists can see some connection here between the environment in which you live. So he came to the mosque of the Prophet, the place of prayer, mosque of the Prophet in Medina. And excuse me for the expression, he passed water, urinated. People were so, imagine anybody doing that in a mosque, church, a synagogue, you know, in front of people. So some people would almost like say, maybe we should eat the edge out of him. You know. And the Prophet says, no. Let him finish. As Europeans, if something like that started and then you try to stop someone, oh, it's awfully painful. Let him finish first. And they said, bring some water, because the mosque there didn't have this chandeliers and all this kind of trappings and carpets that thick and all this. The Muslims are being spoiled. Anyway, the mosque of the Prophet was simpler, but it produced heroes. And it was just like, you know, earth, and they put some pebbles on it or something. So they said, just bring some water to clean the place. The water will take it down. But then he said to that man, very gently, very gently. He said to him, look, this masjid, these places of worship and prayer, is not made for this kind of things. It's made for prayers, reciting the Quran, scriptures, and so on. So the man, after he saw people who were just around to jump on him, found the gentleness of the Prophet and his approach in teaching, even when the person is doing wrong. To the point that, you know what this man said? He liked the Prophet so much that he said, "Oh Allah, have mercy on me and Muhammad, but no one else." I hear those words. The Prophet did not agree with him. He said, no, don't narrow think that Allah made open. In other words, the mercy of Allah is not only limited to you and me. The mercy of Allah, you know, embrace everybody. That's the kind of teacher that, like they say, don't force you to do things, but make you want to do things. Not prevent you by force from doing wrong, but make you feel that you shouldn't do that wrong without any harshness on his part. Let me come to one thing that I promised very quickly, and that is his greatness not only as a leader or judge who observed strict justice even with enemies, which by the way is a command in the Quran in chapter 5 verse 8. Even with enemy you have to be just and fair, whether in managing peace or managing conflict or war, and always at the utmost of kindness and justice, doing justice to all. But some people might say, all right, what is that good example? What does it mean to be? I'm not a prophet, obviously. The prophethood ended, at least according to Muslims, with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And with any wildest dream, I'm not expected to be a president or head of a state or even a judge. You talk about the elite. How is the example of the Prophet relevant to me? In fact, the Prophet is the most perfect example for one reason, that he lived for 23 years, guided by the revelation of the Quran and the directives of Allah, with various roles. As a young man, he is a good example for young people, maintaining his chastity up to the age of 25 when he married Khadijah. Nobody could refer to a single indiscretion on his part. So you don't have to be a judge or a head of the state. As a young man with all these pressures and hormones playing havoc with you, still to maintain chastity and to be patient until you get married, that is a good example, moral example for the youth. Then he married Khadijah. He was 25 years old, she was 40 years old. So it's managed not because of she's another Gigi, a lady, whatever, Lady Gaga. It's not that, 40 years. But it was marriage that is based on moral character. And she actually chose, she was who offered to be married to him because of his character, even though she was rich, and she turned down many offers of marriage before. And how he lived with her. She gave a testimony when he received the message, the first revelation, 15 years later. 15 years of life with him. And actually she lived also after that, so it's a quarter of a century with that monogamous marriage. He was a good example of a monogamous husband. She gave the testimony when he came trembling from the cave of Hira when he received the first revelation, didn't know what happened to him. And she told him, no. When he said, I'm afraid something wrong is with me, he said, no, God will not let you down. And then she started as a wife. By the way, anyone can appear to be nice in front of people, put his best, but if you want the reality of the person, ask his spouse or spouse to that one. So she said, no, God will not do that. Why? Because you help people in need. You show great mercy and kindness to the orphan and the widow. And to carry, help someone, like some old lady carrying things, you carry things for them. That's a testimony after 15 years of experience with him. Their love and affection, mutual affection, was so great that even after she died at the age of 65, and she still was his only wife. After that, after her death, he kept remembering her, praising her. Whenever there is some meat available, like slaughtered animal, he sent some food to the friends of his deceased wife, just to honor her memory by being kind to her friends. Show a great deal of respect. Whenever some of her old friends, women, come to visit him, he honors them. And so I take that because they used to visit us when Khadija, my wife, my deceased wife, was alive. He gave an example, like I said, once he became a head of the state, of justice, of trying to bring people together to promote peace, but to use defense whenever there is aggression also, or betrayal, but still injustice, not an extreme or cruel type of foe. But just to give a few examples in the final analysis about the Prophet as a family man, as a family. Just a few things about him. We spoke about his character as a husband. In fact, later on in his life, when there were many widows whose husbands were killed in battles, some with as many as 4 children, like Salama, he married more than 1 woman, but his polygamous period was actually between the age of 56 and 63 when he died. Most of them actually were like sympathy married people who were about his age, just to look after them and their children when they lost that. There are a number of other reasons, but even in the case of polygamous marriage, he dealt with all his wives with exact equality and sensitivity and care for them as anyone could care to. But how was his life in his household? Some of his wives were asked, how was the Prophet living? Of course, they thought the Prophet. And of course, he was very successful, and the message began to spread and so on, ahead of the state. Of course, no head of state would put his hand in household chores. It's valuable time. So they asked, tell us, how is he living? He said, he would be in the service of his family, fulfilling their needs. And I actually mentioned sometimes they say sweeping the floor, cleaning the house. But when the call for prayer is made, we just make ablution and go to pray. Then they said, he used even to mend his own garment or shoes. A head of the state, imagine a head of the state or prime minister here in Canada, having the need in it. And of course, the prime minister or kings of today, of course, don't have to worry about mending clothes. Get another one. Of course, that shows that he was living in poverty, indeed, that he has to fix his shoes, mend his shoes and clothing. Just like anyone. They said he would go even and milk his goat. Never disdain from doing a household type of work. Actually, he was the busiest man in his time and maybe ever, with